Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Mestrovich. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Rubrik. I joined Rubrik in May after spending 20 years in the federal government. I'm joined today by Phil Montgomery from Microsoft to have a discussion on advances in data security. Phil, over to you.
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be here with you, and it's great to meet you. And as Mike said, I'm Phil Montgomery. I'm the General Manager of the Microsoft Security Go-to-Market, basically responsible for taking to market all of our enterprise security solutions. And I've been at Microsoft for about a year with a 25-year career in cybersecurity, including 4 years at Mandiant, where I joined Microsoft from. You know, I loved your intro, Mike, and I'm super interested in what's it been like 20 years in the federal government service? What's it been like moving to the private sector and working for Rubrik?
You know, Phil, it's been a great experience, I have to admit. In the last couple assignments that I had in the federal government, I had an opportunity to work closely with many of our private sector partners. And today, being on the private sector side, I get the opportunity to work not only with many of those private sector partners as well, but also with many of our public sector entities again. So it's been a great opportunity. I've been really excited to work with great innovative companies like Microsoft and great private sector leaders like yourself. I will say, from my perspective, there were two assignments toward the end of my career that really gave me a unique view into this evolving cybersecurity landscape. The first was when I served as the principal deputy CIO for the State Department and effectively ran the State Department's global IT enterprise. And then finally, as the chief information security officer for the CIA. I think, though, that the pandemic really changed a lot of the ways that we as cyber defenders needed to defend our corporate enterprises. And I think the cyber actors recognize this. We've seen a great uptick in not only the numbers, but the sophistication of attacks, specifically against kind of that home office environment, the SOHO routers, the VPNs, the multi-factor authentication, VDI, so on and so forth. And so these cyber actors have seen how organizations needed to pivot in order to support remote work, and they've adapted their tactics as well. I think in 2021, 69% of all cybercrime was ransomware. And the cybercrime business, if you will, is on track to be a $10.5 trillion business by 2025. And just for scale, that would make it the third largest economy on the planet. I think along these same lines, in a global CISO survey that was recently conducted by Heidrick and Struggles, ransomware attacks were rated by 67% of CISOs as the most significant cyber threat. And 31% of CISOs rated nation-state attacks as a significant threat to their business. And I think that really highlights the close symbiotic relationship that we're seeing between state actors and cyber criminals. So, Phil, given these changes in the cyber landscape today, do you think it's time for new approaches, not only in partnerships, but also in advances in cybersecurity, particularly around data security?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine anybody saying we didn't need new approaches. I mean, we need to continue to evolve as the cybersecurity landscape evolves. I loved a lot of the figures that you threw out there, Mike, and a lot of the information. And you talked about some of the reasons why cybercrime continues to grow. And you said a $10.5 billion business. There's things like the pandemic, the move to remote work, the changes in the attack landscape. I think this is always going to be something that we have to adapt to. What I like to do is think about the strategic reasons. Why have we ended up in this situation? Because a $10.5 billion cybercrime business and a growing business, and you mentioned ransomware is the fastest growing form of cybercrime out there. How did we get there? And I like to think about a few strategic reasons that build upon what you said as well. And to me, the thing that makes cybersecurity such a fascinating space is that every day we wake up and we have to address an attacker, a real person, a human being located anywhere in the world whose job is to hack into our systems and to steal data, to exfiltrate data, to steal data, or to make money, or, hacktivists could have other agendas. So, we have a human adversary that we're working against. So technology alone is never going to be enough. We have to accept the human aspect here. And the other thing is, again, going back to your term business, it's just such a great term. These people are operating in countries where there's no threat that they're going to go to jail. There's no risk. And, they may actually be working for their governments. We know that there are nation state attackers that have their own goals that they're trying to achieve. And it's fascinating when you look into it that many of these operations, they'll have CRM systems, they'll have employee of the month, they'll have president's club for the person that brings in the most money. Many of them are getting salaries plus bonus. There's ransomware as a service. There's a marketplace on attack tools. This is a business with all the elements of a real business, and they're operating without risk. And I think part of the thing that we need to work towards is that we do need to work together as a community, and we do need to eventually implement cyber treaties between governments. We need to establish what the rules are. We need to establish that this is not okay, that this is a global problem, and the global governments need to come together and make that happen. And we have seen a lot of progress here. Our President, Brad Smith, has been working with the White House and with other governments. And that's one of the reasons why I joined Microsoft, because I think this is something that ultimately we need to work with our governments to help solve with a treaty. And I think lastly, building upon those first two things, is the rise in cryptocurrencies. The rise, especially, I should say, anonymous cryptocurrencies. When you can transfer money anonymously, when the money can't be chased, you've taken away a law enforcement technique. And for those that have studied American history, Al Capone, the gangster, was actually put in prison through tax evasion. So they got Al Capone by looking at the money trail. So I think that's, some of these factors are really coalescing to make this amazing environment where cybercrime has flourished. And this is why we're here on this call, Mike, is that we need to work together. I think it's important to understand the reasons. And the last thing I'll add on this, cyber is also unique from a country infrastructure point of view, because much of it lives within the private sector. There's other parts of infrastructure that obviously live within governments, but much of the internet is in the hands of private companies, and that's why it's really essential that we work together and that we collaborate. Whether we be competitors, whether we be partners, we all have to work together to make the world a safer place. And I think, to end up, you did touch on that ransomware is the fastest growing and is now one of the major concerns. And, I think ultimately we're going to talk about why we have this amazing partnership and how we bring each of our strengths here and the data elements of ransomware.
Absolutely. Phil, when I was a customer, what was always important to me is that organizations brought kind of a holistic viewpoint of cybersecurity. And the important thing was that the cybersecurity solutions were truly integrated. Certainly no one company will own all the technology and all the services and all the solutions to combat the growing cyber landscape. And it really takes those partnerships. But from a customer's perspective, what the customer's looking for is an integrated solution. And one of the things that I'm really excited about is that, over a year ago, Microsoft made a significant equity investment in Rubrik. And I think that just is a testament to show how we're both focused on providing really an integrated cybersecurity solution that's comprehensive for our customer base, and that we're going to work together from a strategic perspective to make sure that our customers' data and that their enterprises are secured from a cybersecurity perspective. So I'm just curious, from your perspective, how are you seeing that investment and that partnership bring value to the customers that we're supporting?
Thanks, Mike. And let me start by saying that at Microsoft, we secure over 785,000 organizations, which translates into countless end users who count on Microsoft every day to keep them and their organizations safe. We take this with great responsibility. It is a big responsibility to us to be securing all of these people. And we know that to do this, we have to work with other defenders, which is why we invested in Rubrik. We know that to solve cybersecurity problems, we need to work with best-of-breed companies just like Rubrik.
So, Phil, we just announced that Rubrik intends to join the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association, and we're really excited to be a part of that. And I think that validates how our unique data security capabilities will help improve data resilience, observability, and remediation. How would you describe the MISA program, Phil, and why should customers care?
Well, I'm well versed to talk about the MISA program, Mike, because it lives within my organization. So the Microsoft Intelligent Security Association, it's an ecosystem of independent software vendors, ISVs, and MSSPs, managed security service providers. We have about 300 organizations altogether. And these MSSPs and ISVs have all agreed to integrate their solutions with Microsoft technology and APIs and so on. So as a customer, if you work with somebody within the MISA program, you know that their technology will work well with Microsoft security solutions.
I think you brought up a great point, Phil, and there's a key word there I'd love to highlight, which is integration. I think Rubrik's integration with Microsoft Sentinel is going to be a key differentiator for our customers going forward. You know, in the battle against any cyber event, time really, really matters. And it's becoming clear that the key to success in any cyber event is how well the cybersecurity teams and the IT teams work together. And part of working together is having access to data. And I think it's key that, you know, our integration with Sentinel is going to be a key provider of data to both of those cybersecurity teams and those IT teams. In particular, you know, it's important about protecting data wherever it lives, whether it's on the enterprise, in the cloud, SaaS, so on and so forth. And Rubrik Security Cloud does just that, and it provides a holistic data security approach that makes securing data that much more advantageous and achievable for a company, regardless of the scale. But the important point is integrating the telemetry data from Rubrik Security Cloud into something like Sentinel gives those cybersecurity teams and those IT teams instant visibility across their enterprise into those data security elements, which will help them better collaborate with their IT service providers to accelerate the cybersecurity investigations and help provide faster remediation from cyber events. I'm just curious, do you see this as an important next step in our partnership for our joint customer base?
You really hit the nail on the head with that comment, Mike. Visibility, it's the key ingredient that we need in our fight against cybercrime, malware, ransomware, and so on. The more telemetry that we can bring together centrally, the more visibility that we can create, the more quickly we can surface and mitigate threats. And as you mentioned, Microsoft Sentinel is our SIM, and it's a bird's eye view across the enterprise. So we're going to bring all of that telemetry together. We're going to apply threat intelligence. We're going to look to discard false positives. We're going to look to take weak signals, to correlate them, to expose and surface threats quickly, or things that could be threats, because the quicker that we can deal with them, the less likely that an attacker is to get a foothold in your organization. And of course, we want to do things like orchestrate and automate common tasks so our security analysts, you know, can focus on what really matters.
Thanks, Phil. I know we've covered a lot of material today. I know we're really excited as a company of the launch of Rubrik Security Cloud and leveraging the latest Azure Sentinel integration. We talked a lot about the Microsoft Intelligence Security Association, and we're really excited to join that program. And we also discussed the investment that Microsoft made in Rubrik and the fruits that investment is bringing to bear here a year later. There's a lot of information here for our customers to digest, but I really enjoyed the time that I got to spend here with you today. I thought this was a great conversation, and hopefully it gives our customers a bit of perspective on how we're partnering together to serve their data security needs and help better protect them from ransomware, as well as provide them with a comprehensive cybersecurity view of their environment when they're utilizing our services. So thanks again for your time today. It's been a pleasure of mine to be here with you today, and look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Look, I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I personally looking forward to sitting down with you and learning more about your 20 years in government service and more of what you're doing at Rubrik, because I think we've just scratched the surface. And this is one of the things that I love about cybersecurity is that people come together regardless of their backgrounds, and we just want to solve the problems. We just want to solve cybersecurity. We want people to be safe. We want organizations to be safe. So thank you so much for your time. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Bill.